Okay, so I've been out of a car for a little bit, and I gotta say is I've been doing a lot of rideshare apps just to get to work, and I will say it's really interesting, and it's definitely not what I was expecting. Now, for the longest time, I did not really know that there was a bad reputation when it comes to these apps, similar to like taxis or anything else. Also, same with public transportation, because I really never had to do any of it, and it kind of made me realize how privileged I was with having a car until now. And I come to the conclusion that a lot of rideshare apps are kind of evil, and I kind of find it weird because, like, you figured on paper it'd be really cool to pay the driver to pay people to drive you around, you know? But unfortunately, I'd be paying a pretty penny just to get to work and back sometimes, and it does suck. But I've noticed that like the drivers do not match up to the pay that they receive. Now, I do understand that when you're a 1099 or a contractor, that you may be able to take any order you want, and a lot of these type of companies like DoorDash, Uber Eats, Uber, Lyft, all have this reputation of not paying their employers well or their contractors, but man, like it's gotten really crazy that how every year, like more and more stuff from these apps just tend to get worse and they just treat people even more worse. This also applies to a lot of bus drivers too who does public transportation. And I gotta say to everybody that does this is you all have my dearest respect, bro. Because I used to do like DoorDash and stuff when I was younger, and man, that was a grind. And I could not imagine having some type of stranger or anyone else kind of ride with me in my car, because you never know with these type of people you're going to deal with, because you could deal with either drunk people, could deal with like toxic people, or even drug dealers. You just never know what you're in for. And another thing that a lot of people don't talk about when it comes to like these rideshare apps is some of the drivers are absolutely interesting, and they're kind of insane too. Like, I remember having this Uber driver where he was like picking me up, right? And instead of like actually picking me up to take me to work, he was going my route. Then he decides to purposely miss my turn so he could like try to get a car wash. Now, I don't know why, but a lot of these rideshare apps, bro, these people like just don't give a shit sometimes. Like, they'll literally sometimes miss your turn, or they'll get something wrong or whatever. And I'm not really picky when it comes to like how people drive, as long as they're not going out of control crazy. But oh my god, these people just like are just blatantly just very careless. And another thing that does blow my mind is that these type of drivers that are very toxic and disrespectful, the ones that are disrespectful are the ones that expect a tip the most. And it's weird because they'll try to push that shit on you when you're trying to leave sometimes. They'll be like, don't forget the tip. I'm like, okay, I want to give you a tip, but you don't have to push me to give it to you. That shit is just ridiculous. Now, this all depends on the time of the day or night or whatever, but like I do notice that like the ones that do like tell you the craziest shit are usually the ones that are like either on drugs or that are just absolutely unhinged. Like, I do remember this one story where like this chick was telling me how she got arrested by a cop, and then like some cop like molested her and stuff, or did some crazy shit while she was like about to go to jail. And I was just like, why are you telling me this, man? Like, I don't care. I hate to say it, but like I like to talk to people and be civil, but like I don't need to know any of that. It was just kind of funny that some of the drivers will also trauma dump shit on you, and that's another thing I never would expect. And also some of the drivers too, like apparently you're not supposed to do this, but they'll also will sometimes be on the phone with somebody and then like talk to their friend or whatever, or not even be from like, you know, speak a different language and they're not even from America originally. It's just wild like what type of shit goes on. And the craziest thing is too is that these companies don't give a damn what they do as long as they're making money, you know? And like that's another thing that's become a huge problem. Now, the good thing about this whole situation is that like I don't always pay out of pocket for like a transportation to work. Sometimes I'll borrow my sibling's car, or sometimes I'll just blatantly just, you know, use a credit card and just pay it back so as to take a little bit of a hit. Or if I really need to, just rent a damn car. But the good thing is I am looking at a car extremely soon. I want a Toyota Camry, and yeah, because those things are reliable and they're cheap, and they can get you from point A to point B without major issues. But another thing I've noticed about ride-sharing apps is that there are way too many people who just blatantly refuse to drive, so they rely on these apps. And I never understood it because honestly, they're not really that reliable. Because there's times too where I've used these rideshare apps where I try to book a ride and then no one would pick up the ride because it's either within either their location or whatever. Like it's all a big convenience game with them too. So like you think on paper, oh, they're very generous for giving me a ride to do this and that, right? But in reality, most people are cherry picking to see what they want to give you the most payout. It's really sad how that works, but that's just how business is. Now, and my biggest observation when it comes to the ride sharing apps is that, and one thing I've noticed with all of them is a lot of them like to exploit the poor. And it's really sad because there's some people who need to rely on this in order to survive. Because some people already get garnished wages from taxes, but then using their transportation, like, apps to get them to work, it's just another way to get garnished on your wages. It may not seem big, but for me, I'm paying almost $60 a day to do this, so that's why I have to finance some of it to get it under control, because in this day and age, you can't just rely on people to take you to work all the time, especially friends and family, so sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do with these apps, but it's definitely not a long-term thing, and I don't understand why so many people think it should be a long-term thing for them. Another thing I have learned from this situation is that this motivates the shit out of me to try to get a new car ASAP, because man, I can't, like, no one can rely on this as a financial thing or not without stressing about funds, because I can find this really stressful, and I don't care how much money people has, dude. No one wants to see their money fluctuate where they can't save enough because of something like this. Like, this just makes life a little bit more harder than it has to be, because these wages out here right now are really not good, and I could not imagine, like, the other stress and toll while having to take care of a family or something, because man, these people taking care of families while not having a car, y'all are also like insane for that, dude. Y'all are really dedicated, but man, it's not easy. Now, another good thing I will say about some of these transportation apps is like there's some good alternatives that make things cheaper. Like for example, if you're in a certain zone or area, you can use like a rideshare app that will give you a ride for $3 wherever you need to go. But the thing is, it's very limited of what you can do, but it's the same company that operates the buses. But recently in my area, some of the areas around me are actually getting discontinued because not enough people are working these alternative transportation apps. And also these people are also doing car washes, making people late for their shit too. Because you can see this on the map situation when you're looking at it and seeing that people are not even driving to people's destination spots. That right there is also very frustrating. The car market's not amazing, right? And another thing I've seen too with these apps like Lyft, where is I've seen people literally use the rent a car program where they rent a car and use their driving app full time just so they could have a car. Now, it's not bad if you don't have a job and stuff, but there's some people who are trying to have more than one job so they could just, try to, use this shit to have a car. And it's not a bad idea on paper, but if you have to literally just like drop people off all the time and run that car to the ground with wear and tear in order just to have it paid off. So essentially, you basically would be trapped. One thing that is really good about this situation though is that it really did make me appreciate having a bike more often, because having a bike nowadays as an adult, in my opinion, is super underrated, because you get to have a bike to get some exercise, you get to pedal around, and if the weather's nice, it's really cool, and sometimes you have better scenery of what you're doing and where you're going. It's kind of like, being a kid again too, because not very many adults like have a bike when you're older, and there's some people that love to take it on as a hobby, and I do love doing it every once in a while, and it has got me around for the most part. The only thing I just don't like about having a bike is that paranoia feeling of someone trying to steal your stuff if you're trying to drop your bike off to go to the store or something, because some people will just take a bike and just heartbeat of the moment. Now, what's kind of ironic about this situation too is that I did have thoughts about getting rid of my car entirely once my last car broke down, just so I don't just so I could save money and just get around without a car. But I come to find out that having no car is a lot more difficult than I realized. A lot of people take not having a car for granted, especially if it's a reliable one, because having a reliable car nowadays is pretty rare. Like, there's some good cars that are older that could last you forever, but I never understood those people that buys a car, they pay it off, and then as soon as they pay that car off entirely, they just try to throw it away for a better one and make more payments. Like, man, that car had no problems, man. Like, just drive it until you can't drive it anymore. I just don't get it. Anyways, everybody, that's all I got to say about rideshare apps. I hope some of y'all can relate to this because I can't be the only one that's been going through something like this with no car, especially where you can't get to work of any other way besides having one. I will say is that I will figure this situation out. I know it's not the end of the world and things will get better, and thankfully I have been able to still save some money to be able to get out of this situation because I could not imagine a situation where you can't. Also, I'd like to say is if my job had like a transportation route with a train, I would honestly take the damn train, bro, because trains are really cool. Like, have y'all not seen the movie Polar Express? Yeah, man, trains were kind of cool. Obviously, don't take any train you see, but bro, fucking yeah, I would totally do that in order to save money. The last thing I do want to say is y'all are great for giving me 16,000 subscribers, bro. I was stuck on 15,700 for a while, but I'm glad we pushed through and now we got the ball rolling again. So thank y'all so much, and hopefully this YouTube money can help me pay for all those important shit until I can get on my feet with the car. You guys take care, and I'll see y'all later.